Good evening, everyone. Let me just double check that the stream is set up properly. Right, welcome to the Season 9 Race of Champions. We're at Watkins Glen tonight, and we have most of the winners across the tiers, and we have every single person here has won at least one race, but almost all of them have won multiple races this season. So yeah, let's go through the starting grid. We have our Tier 1 champion, Distinct Marco, in his McLaren 650. He will be starting in 15th place for this 35 lap race, around about an hour. It is going to be a sunset race, which is why it looks really dark now, but that's because the lobby's been set up for a little while. We got BX Royal in his Ferrari in P14. He finished second in the championship. And then Caplero, who finished third in the championship in Tier 1, is in the RX Vision in P13. Then we have our Tier 2 champion, the first of a few Gen X's, Syndra. And then the runner-up in the RCZ is Chrissy. And then down to Tier 3, we've got in P10 DDK in his M6. He was super fast. You might remember he won and beat some of the Tier 1 drivers, well, all three of the Tier 1 drivers in this race, in the sprint race around the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And then we've got Reno, who is a fill-in. Unfortunately, Andy couldn't make it tonight, but Reno also won a race last season, so he qualified as the next active driver. So he's starting P9 in the only Alfa Romeo. Then we've got Capale, so we don't have right. He also couldn't race, unfortunately. So we got Capale, who should actually be ahead of Turbo Boy. Let me just change that. Turbo Boy was the runner-up, and Capale was in third place. They were teammates, both in the Peugeots in Tier 4. Really solid, really closely matched on pace as well. So Capale will be in 7th. Action Jackson, who is also Turbo Boy, will be in 8th. And we've got Krilla in another Gen X, really quick again. He will be starting in P6. He was setting some really fast times in this lobby as well. Then we've got Regnix, which I think that's how you say his name, in the Huracan, so the only Huracan. He's a last minute fill-in because Omorda, our Tier 5 champion's wheel, is unfortunately not working. Then we've got a pair of M6s. Gin Tonics, who absolutely dominated Tier 6, is going to start P4 on the grid. This is his second ROC in a row that he'll be competing in. And Cunning Firm, so the top three are all people who've made their debut in GT7 this season. So Cunning Firm also goes by Mr. Obvious on Discord. He is in P3, the runner-up for Tier 6. And then in P2 is our Tier 7 champion, again quite dominant in the R8. He, oh, Keplero's left the room. Well, we'll have to wait until he rejoins. Yeah, so Bad Robot, also known as Dens on Discord, is in P2 in the Audi R8. And then his teammate, Jezza IQ, they absolutely dominated the constructors in Tier 7. He will be starting on pole, so you might just have to bear with me. I'll find out what happened to Kep, and then we'll get started. The error in the following application. Oh dear. Might have to restart the lobby. Right, he's got some kind of blue screen error message, which is why I got kicked out. Right, I'll have to restart the lobby. Great way to start. Right, let me just tag everyone as well. Okay, so we'll be another couple of minutes before we get started. Loads of people watching today, which is really good to see. So load Race of Champions. This is my old settings with Interlagos, so let's see, where is Watkins Glen? There it is. Long course, number of laps 35. Custom weather, we are starting at sunset times 2. Set by host, everything else should be identical. Okay, I'll just tell them all that the lobby's back up. There we go, everyone's waited. Already got most of the grid in. There you can see, by the way, my Mercedes AMG GT3 2020 version. That is a livery that Perry made for me for the 2-hour endurance series, which is kicking off next Tuesday. So we've got a semi-final with 8 teams, then we're whittling it down to 5 teams for the final. The semi will be at Daytona, and the final will be at Le Mans. So that should be an exciting little off-season event for everybody. So everyone is in, I just need them all to enter. And now I have to remember the grid order now as well. So Chris and Regnix, I'm waiting for them. Right, I can go back onto... Oh, nice. We've got a lot of chat going on in the chat, which I've completely missed while I was trying to sort all this out. I'm getting some abuse. Okay, standard. Okay, right, let's set this grid. Marco, all the way at the back. Jezza. Then it was Dens. There he is. Cunning Fern. And then Jin. Regnix. Killer Krilla. It's a good name, isn't it? Then we have Capel. It's difficult to remember with all these tiers. Turbo Boy. DDK. Chris. Syndra. Kep, BX, Marco. So, Marco in the McLaren, BX Royal in the Ferrari, Kepler in the Mazda, Syndra in the Gen X, Chris in the Peugeot, DDK in the M6, Reno in the Alpha, Turbo Boy in the Peugeot, Capel in the Peugeot, Krilla in the Gen X, Regnix in the Lambo, Jin and Cunning Fern in the BMs, and Dens and Jezza in the Audis. Now we can apply. I can tell them all we're starting soon. And good luck to everyone who is about to start their races. I'll give them a minute or two. Unfortunately, I didn't qualify. I've qualified for the first 2, and I haven't qualified for the next 2, so that's why I am commentating, because I really love the Race of Champions. It's my favourite event of the season, to be honest. So, we've got 35 laps. Let me just double check the event settings. 2 times sunset. We're having a sunset into a night race here. 35 laps. It's going to be no qualifying because the grid is already set, and we're going to get going now. So it's going to be a really short run down to the 90, which is the name of the first turn. This is a track where it's quite hard on fuel over an hour. Quite easy to get a lot of penalties as well, which you're probably going to start seeing. So, there we go. So we'll follow Jezza and see if he can turn his pole position into advantage into turn 1. The lights are finally starting to come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're off at the race champions. Looks like a pretty decent start for everyone at the front. It looks like actually Bad Robot got a little bit of a better start than Jezza. And he's actually got the inside line for corner. We're 4 wide into the first corners. Both BMs get, and it causes a lot of chaos there. There's going to be a few 1-second penalties as a result. There's a Gen X all the way at the back that looked like it might have been Krilla. And we've got Jin, our BMW driver who dominated tier 6 ahead of Bad Robot as he managed to nudge his way into the lead and into the inside line for turn 1 as we enter the bus stop now. Further back, we've got Capel's had a good start and he's all the way up into P3. Cunningfern's still in P4, so he's only lost 1 place as we're 3 wide. Oof, looks like not DDK, someone went into the wall there, I couldn't quite see. We've got BX Royal already working his way up into P8 there. Jezza is down into 10th now, not having the best of times. With Chrissy 11th, Krilla was one of the ones that went down, and then Regnix and Rito heading up the rear. But we got Jin, and bear in mind he is on the softs, so he's managed to get to the front pretty well there, and he's starting to extend a bit of a lead here, 1.1 seconds ahead of Bad Robot, who's under pressure from Capel and Cunningfern behind him. Bad Robot's on the hards as well, so if he could keep the drivers behind him, there's loads of drivers behind. Someone's into the that's Chrissy into the gravel already there. So really terrible lap for Chrissy. Didn't look like he had the best first couple of corners, and now he's into the gravel. Bad Robot is holding off Capel, who's on the medium tyres there. Cunningfern's on the soft, so that's why he is all over the back of Capel, and he's going to want to get past pretty soon if he's going to take advantage of these soft tyres. It looks like Capel is challenging Bad Robot for P2 now. He's got the inside line into the 90. Looks like Cunningfern bumps Bad Robot off as well, and he's not yielding either. So Bad Robot down to P4 already. Cunningfern just had so much more grip on his tyres, which is probably why he bumped into the back of Bad Robot there. The difference between the softs and the hards as we're going down the back stretch into the bus stop here. We've got DDK up into P5 now, so really good start for DDK on his hard tyres as well. So he's ahead of a bunch of drivers, and then Turbo Boy just behind him on the hards. They're all getting held up a little bit by the tier 7 champion now. It's like DDK's going to try and move around the outside. He's going to make it stick. The outside's going to become the inside for the next corner, which is the toe. He might get the move done here. Whoa, looks like Capel got all out of shape there, and he's going to go from P2 all the way down to 6th already, down to 7th. And then he's going to have Kepler overtaking him as well, tier 1 driver Kep. And that is what a very small mistake can do for you as we head towards the end of lap 2. So let's rejoin and have a little stock of what's going on. So Jin has worked up a 3.7 lead on his soft tyres. So this has worked out perfectly for Jin. He needs to continue stretching his lead, and his teammate from tier 6 is in P2, also has quite a big lead over DDK now. DDK is the highest placed driver not on soft tyres on the hards there, so maybe you could say he's the favourite for the win at this stage, but it is still very, very early on. He's going to come under a lot of pressure now from BX Royal, our tier 2 runner-up, who has been runner-up a few times now, and he also won multiple spec series in ALR as well. So he knows how to overtake slower drivers, because that's what you have to do in spec series all the time. Looks like DDK a bit ahead of them has a penalty as well. So is BX going to back out a bit before this corner? Both of them on hard tyres. He doesn't. Oh, this could go really wrong. Looks like Turbo Boy's going to get involved as well. Really good driving, actually, managing to keep it on the track, both of them, in a really slippery part of the track, the bus stop there. So we head into Laces, and BX has the move done, but there is a queue of cars, including both Peugeots from tier 4 behind Bad Robot, and it seems like he's just slowly falling down the order now, and everyone's kind of queuing up to overtake him. showing the difference in being the Tier 7 champion and the Tier 4 Constructors champions just behind him there. And what's happened to... Oh, DDK had that penalty, and that meant that BX Royal just got a free position, which is a bit of a disaster for DDK, because he must be feeling like he could potentially get the victory from BX Royal there. Dominating BMWs, DDK up to podium positions we're seeing on the chat. Definitely elbows out on the first lap, 4 wide into turn 1. We don't have stewards reports in the race champions, but you could have potentially seen that in the stewards if it was a normal race. Lots of opportunism there. So let's see what Jin's lead is now. It's only 3 seconds. So Cunning is having a really decent race there, and he's got a 5.2 second lead over BX Royal right now. So this is great news for now. Obviously they're going to start getting caught later in the race. Setting a 46 for Cunning Fern, which is the fastest lap on the race, a 46 flat. Maybe a second off the ultimate pace. I saw Krilla do a 45 flat in practice on one of his first laps, so maybe the 44s are what the is probably what the fastest lap of the race is going to end up being. Really good lines through the bus stop there from Cunningburn though. He's doing pretty well, and Jin obviously is doing really well as well. BX Royal has a 2-second penalty, so that's a disaster for him, and we've got Bad Robot back up into P4 ahead of DDK now, so he's not letting the pressure get to him at all with all these faster drivers queuing up behind him, and he's probably going to retake a podium position here once BX serves that 2-second penalty. He must have gone wide in turn 1 in the 90, going a bit too wide in the rumble strips. Everyone's super close together right now. And there we go. So BX is not just 4th or 5th, he's going to be 6th, 7th, potentially 8th by the time we get to heel. He manages to keep 6th place ahead of Krilla. So we've got the 2 gens, Krilla and Syndra in 7th and 8th. We've got Keplero in 9th, just he's still within this pack, but he's not really in a rush to overtake them all. It's really difficult. Look how congested it is as we head through turns 10 right now. Bit wide there for Syndra. And Capale, who was up there with his teammate, is all the way down in struggling now. Where's he gone? He's in 11th. So we've got Kep and Marco, the 2 Tier 1 drivers, in a bit of a... Oh, what happened there? Kep absolutely murdered someone. Where's he gone? Syndra. Oh, poor Syndra. Well, he's done that to a few people this season, so maybe it's just a bit of calm. We've seen him in the stewards room a lot, but yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. But the way that these cars are all so close together, it's not going to take too long to catch back up to the grid. And we've got Reno, unfortunately, right at the back. Regnix is doing pretty well here on the hard tyres. He's in P12, only 19 seconds off the lead. So let's rejoin BX and see what's happening with him, because he is our highest placed Tier 1 driver at the moment. He is stuck behind Turbo Boy. He went really wide, and they had a little coming together just then. And he's got that P5 back fairly easily, and now Turbo Boy and Krilla are going to have a little drag race down to toe, and Turbo Boy being quite aggressive there in his defending to make sure he didn't give up that position and let Krilla down the inside. Now Krilla's going to try again, and is Turbo Boy going to close him off? Oh, a little bit naughty, and he's trying to squeeze him as much as possible. But Krilla's got the position. So Turbo Boy's struggling here at this part of the race on the hard tyres. These guys haven't had to use the hard tyres all season. So this is a new challenge for all of them, because obviously the way that GT7 graphics work at the moment, you don't really need to use the hard tyres. It's probably preferable to use completely worn softs than brand new hards. So Action Jackson now under threat from Marco, our Tier 1 champion. Goes inside to protect into the 90. Really difficult to go side by side into this corner. Marco does yield, but he's going to have the slipstream through the S's. As you can see, Krilla there giving BX Royal some bother a little bit further up. So let's join that one. It looks like Krilla's lining up a move here. The Gen has been amazing on the on acceleration, but he couldn't do anything just there. What about further back? Marco still can't get past Action. So Turbo Boy went really wide here. This is the carousel, by the way, in the last corner, which allowed BX to get past. He's got a little bit wide there as well. Maybe he doesn't have the best line through that corner compared to these tier 1 guys. And now, yep, Turbo Boy's got the position. Looks like a little bit further back, Pale's got a penalty, as does Keplero. So these 1.5 second penalties are really going to penalise them. And then we got Jezza, who was our pole sitter. He's down in 11th, but he might move up to 10th now, maybe potentially 9th. No, it looks like Capel's going to just about keep that position. So let's go back to the front. Jin has worked up a 4 second lead now, 4.1, as we head into lap 7. Cunningfern still has about a 7 second lead ahead of Bad Robot, but it looks like it's coming down a little bit now. The soft tyres are definitely wearing, and it's probably time to pit sometime soon. Action Jackson's decided to get off the hard tyres straight away. Don't blame him. I did put in the chat early, an early pit stop would be a good idea to get rid of the hards and also just to avoid all the traffic and maybe do a massive undercut on people. So maybe Turbo Boy's going to try and do that, and maybe he's committed himself to a 3 stop there. A 2 stop is probably the optimum strategy, but not when you're stuck in traffic like this. So Bad Robot again, he's keeping hold of P3 like fantastically here. Oh, what happened to Gorilla there? He nearly absolutely wiped out DDK, and then he wipes himself out. And it looks like BX Royal manages to get past DDK, so he lost a few positions there. And that's good news for Bad Robot, because he's got a little bit of respite there from all of the pressure that he's had ever since lap 1. So is DDK going to try and get past BX here? So we're at toe. This is part of the track that's called the boot, by the way. So we're at toe now, and then we've got the this straight here as we approach the heel. Very clever, these Americans, with the naming. So BX keeps P4 for now. Marco's up to P6, but he's got 4 seconds to close the gap to DDK and BX there. So definitely not being able to pick through the pack as easily as the drivers in front. Capel in P7 there. Lovely little Peugeot livery. Krilla dropped down to P8 after we saw him go off. Now he's going to start coming under pressure from Kep. He's probably got quite worn and dirty tyres at the moment. Does Krilla, which is why Kep's managed to get right up to the gearbox. I just saw your comment, dude, about the karma. Oh, great run for Kep coming out of the 90 into the S's here, so I expected overtake to be done. Oh, he's got a 1.5 penalty. That's why it was so good. He went off track. But he might get a move done anyway. Let's keep watching. And he just tucks in behind Krilla. Krilla incredibly quick, by the way. He started out in tier 7, which was an obvious misplacement by the league, and then he got promoted after the first race, and then he managed to win loads of races in tier 5 as well. So obviously another promotion is in store for him. Let's see what's going on a little bit further down. Looks like a little bit of excitement between the tier 2 drivers. Aren't even in the top 10 for tier 2. That's a shocking race for those two, where we've got 2 tier 6 drivers in first and second right now. Regnick's doing really well here as well after his he literally was called up 15 minutes before the race started, so he should be pretty pleased that he's even keeping up with the pace. We got Reno a little bit further back, also was a late call up. Oh, we got our first pit stop from the front. So Cunningfern, completely red front left tyre. Howardjin's tyres slightly better than Cunningfern's, so he's eking out an extra lap here. But he's got an 11-second lead as well. So this is where it becomes difficult, because obviously his last lap was a 47.6, so he's usually in the 46s, apart from one where he must have made a little mistake. So really strong form there, but the hard tyres are also going at the 47s now. So we're definitely at the crossover point in terms of how useful those soft tyres are. And obviously there's much less traction on those soft tyres now that they're completely dead. So I imagine Jin will be coming in at the end of this lap. If I was him, I'd probably hit for the mediums. When I was in the Race of Champions in Daytona, I did a soft, medium, hard, and it's really good for your confidence, because you do well for the first half of the race, and then you slowly get overtaken by everyone on the hard tyres when they're on the soft. So at least you have a fun half race though. So let's see what happens with Jin as we cross the final couple of corners. Is he going to come in the pits? Really amazing and perfect first stint for Jin, you've got to say. Couldn't have done much more. And he is coming in. So that means Bad Robot, who is potentially, actually BX is just done a fantastic overtake into turn 10 there to take what will end up being the lead of the race as we finish our 9th lap. But look, Bad Robot's not letting it go just yet. And he's actually retaken the position off BX. Fantastic driver, this Bad Robot. I haven't seen him drive before. Obviously he's a Tier 7 champion for a reason, but he's going toe to toe with these Tier 1 drivers through the S's as well. So this might bring in DDK, because battling through the S's makes you have to lift, which you shouldn't have to do through the S's. So it might be 3 wide by the time we get to the bus stop. Absolutely great driving by Bad Robot. He's making a name for himself here. So he's lost out to, oh, what a move by DDK. Absolutely opportunistic. Went through, is he on the hards as well? He is indeed. And snatched P2 from Bad Robot. So Bad Robot, unfortunately, down to P3 in the space of a couple of corners, but still some absolutely amazing defending by him. And in all that, Marco, who was about 6 seconds behind this, he's only 1.5 seconds behind Bad Robot now. Looking forward to see what Bad Robot could do next season in a higher tier, definitely. Great livery as well, Skechers. So we got the top 4 all separated by 2.8 seconds here. All on hard tyres as well. Let's see where Jin came out. So he is in P12. Oh, he's got a half-second penalty, unfortunate. And he is ahead of Turbo Boy, who actually came out ahead of Cunningfern. So I wonder if Cunningfern had a... Oh, that's why. Look at the difference in fuel. Turbo Boy will probably overtake Jin fairly soon as well, because he hasn't refueled. Cunningfern did refuel to the top, and as did Jin. So they're definitely working on a synchronized strategy. And Cunningfern trying something incredibly different. But he'll get track position pretty soon by doing that, I imagine. They're both on the mediums as well. But let's rejoin this battle at the lead. So BX has managed to stretch his lead over DDK to 1.4 seconds. DDK 1 second ahead of Bad Robot, who is defending for his life against Marco right now. Ooh, Marco got his elbows out there, and again, so that's 2 positions lost at 2 laps at the bus stop for Bad Robot, and he's got a 1.5 second penalty as well, probably because of the the elbows of Marco. That's unfortunate. He's probably going to lose out to Capel at the yeah, he's definitely going to at the next penalty line. Excuse me. Brake balance isn't enabled at the moment. It's we kept the settings identical to... Oh, never mind. Capel's got some serious lag issues there. He just went into a barrier, and now he's ghosting through Bad Robot and into P4. No, yeah, so brake balance we've not allowed here, but it will be coming in for next season. We just thought it wouldn't be fair to introduce brake balance when it hasn't been used at all this season, when we're using the same cars for all the race champions. So unlucky for Bad Robot. He's now 6.9 away. He's just got to focus on lap time now, really. All the guys in front have managed to get past, but that doesn't mean it's over. He can still get a really good result here. And there's a huge gap. Oh, Marco's off his hards already. So he's going to try and get an undercut on these guys. Is he going to put in fuel? Let's see. He is indeed. Is he going to put in a full tank? It does look like it. So let's see. Let's join Jin and see if Marco comes out behind these guys. I'd imagine he will, because there was a huge gap between Jin and Marco. Sorry, Turbo Boy's still not managed to get ahead of Jin in all this as well. So that is frustrating his strategy, because he's got the lower fuel. He needs to get past incredibly, like, really soon. Looks like Marco's even behind Cunningfern here, so he's got some drivers to overtake. But yeah, let's join these guys. So it looks like Jin doesn't have the inside for the bus stop, which and it's just a straight drag race between the M6 and the RCZ. Yeah, he's had to yield there, which isn't what he'll have wanted to do, but he didn't have much choice. But he did well to keep Turbo Boy behind. Ooh, there's a yellow flag. Who's that for? Oh, Rito. He must have had a little spin there. So Rito hasn't pit yet, and his mediums are pretty dead now. So he'll be dropping to the back when he does pit. Let's rejoin the front. BX pace to BX, in these cars at least. BX is leading, but a lot of drivers have made the first stop and BX hasn't. So we are a long way from this race being decided. Marco's trying an ambitious undercut as Bad Robot finally comes into the pits. He was on his last legs in terms of fuel life by the looks of things. So Capale all on his own a little bit further back as well. So this is ideal for the top three. They've just got no one to battle, and they can just focus on preserving tyre life and setting fast times here. Meanwhile, let's see if there's any battles going on further down. It looks like Chrissy's recovering a little bit. Obviously still hasn't pit either. The Peugeots seem to be able to go quite long into the race. Then we got Jezza in P6. Remember, he was our pole sitter. He's got Regnix for company, and Turbo Boy's going to be joining them. So we're getting a bit of a crossover now between drivers who've pitted and drivers who haven't. The brake balance is 0, JP. There's no brake balance today. Oh, great little overtake there from Reg. I'm going to call him Reg. Oh, a bit of contact there between Action. He's got a front bumper damage. Just Jezza doesn't have rear damage, so that's going to mean that Jin might be able to retake Turbo Boy here. Let's rejoin these guys because Jezza managed to get past Reg. And now Reg is under pressure now. Action tries to go around the outside, the really long way around the corner. And now we're going to get 3 wide into heel corner. Really difficult to keep up with what's happening here. Different driver every single lap every single corner seems to be taking the lead of this little group. And now Reg has lost out to Jezza again, and Turbo Boy managed to get past both of them pretty easily. And Jin will want to do the same soon because he's got much better tyre life than these two. Are either of them coming into the pits? Yeah, it looks like Jezza's in, and the others will have to go around the outside of him, which is really awkward, that pit entry. It's going to be another drag race down to turn 1. These guys have lost 3.7 seconds to Turbo Boy by all this battling. So that's worked out perfectly for Turbo Boy after being stuck behind Jin for the longest time. He's now got some clear air and the battling even more, so he's going to stretch the lead. He's over 4 seconds now. As we go through the S's, and Jin's managed to do it. Reg has a great tyre wear on that Huracan, but he's going to have to pit this lap because look, he's completely empty on the pit, on the on the fuel gauge, and he's losing a bit of time now to Jin. Meanwhile, we got Marco up P7, who's managed to overtake Syndra on the mediums there. So that is 4th position, and then we've got Bad Robot And then we got Capel and Kep battling. So these guys have all pit, by the way. Capel just lost out there by going a bit wide around the laces. And he's probably not going to see much of Kep for the rest of the race. I imagine Kep will just drive away from him. And we got Kriller in P12. DDK's in the pits with 1% left on his fuel. Then Cunningford down in 13th. So struggling now that he's pitted for the hard tyres. And losing a bit of pace. It's really difficult to adjust from softs to hards in a race. You've got Reno and Jezza, who's pit and come out in last place. So BX will have to pit this lap as well, this final lap. Same with Chrissy, look at their fuel. Turbo Boy will take the lead of the race. And we've got Jin, he's going to retake P2 here because, and Marco's going to move up to P3. But he's 38 seconds off the lead here, so when BX pits, I don't imagine Marco will overtake him in the pits. So this is working out really well for BX in terms of strategy right now, as the sun is setting and it's going to start getting darker and a lot more difficult to see. Basically, there's no floodlights on this track, but it does get completely dark here. Sindra putting a lot of pressure on Marco. They're both on mediums as well, so showing that Sindra does have the pace to mix it with the big boys, our tier 2 champion. DDK could get the undercut on BX, that's very true. He's going to have a killer outlap though, and I'm not quite sure how good the Ferrari tank is compared to the M6. But if he didn't have to fuel as much, then yeah, he could definitely get the position. Where is DDK though? DDK's fallen all the way back to 10th. And he's stuck behind Capel, so the chances that that happens are pretty low. He must have made some mistakes along the way because he's 40 seconds behind BX right now. So maybe DDK's chances of a podium have took a big blow there. Marco's still defending like mad against Sindra. Remember, Sindra went into the wall a bit earlier, and he's still this high up on the grid, so he's having a fantastic recovery drive. As these guys might be able to overtake BX. BX looks like he's coming out of the pits now. So yeah, he has lost out to Marco and Sindra, and it looks like he's going to lose out to Bad Robot as well. He's going to have to overtake him all over again. And bear in mind, he didn't even put in a full tank of fuel there as well. And he's losing out to Kep. So it's been a bit of a... I don't know if you could call it a bad strategy. But he's down in 7th from leading the race because 6 drivers have undercut him basically. So it might come back to him a bit later on, but he's going to lose a lot of time behind these guys. He's behind a tier 7 driver, let's not forget, who's put in a great show, but he is still tier 7, so he does have a big pace disadvantage compared to these 2 tier 1 drivers that he's fighting against right now. Gen X versus McLaren is like Verstappen versus Latifi. As someone who drove the McLaren this season, I fully agree. But hey, that McLaren won the Tier 1 championship, so... Kep is having a look down the inside of Bad Robot. It looks like he's going to get the move done. Bad Robot's not one to allow a driver just to drive away, though. He's retaken positions after he's been overtaken. A lot of drivers would just like concede defeat and just tuck it behind, but he manages to get the positions back. And now he's... gonna have BX all over the back of him, and he's defending again down the inside really well. This must be really frustrating for BX. He'll be thinking every corner stuck behind Bad Robot here is losing maybe, well, multiple tenths of a second. When he's down in P7, which I bet he wasn't expected to be. I don't know. If it was me, I'd be, and I kind of got my hopes up that I'd be winning the race. I'd be super frustrated right now. And the problem is that Ferrari's got absolutely no beans on the straights. We're in the back stretch right now, and he just can't seem to get an overtake done, but he manages to brake incredibly late and overtake on the outside into the entry into the bus stop, which is a fantastic overtake there. Bad Robot's got some really good racecraft on him. He hasn't been in any instance, despite some really close racing with the drivers around him. So really good racecraft on top of pretty decent pace today. And although he's in P7, I think he should be pretty pleased with how he's doing right now. Let's see how Jin's doing. He's getting caught by Marco. So we're going to have a BMW M6 versus a McLaren now. Yes, I would say it was godlike. That was fantastic. Overtake of the day so far, even though DDK did a great overtake at the bus stop as well. But hey, these are the highest placed drivers in the league and the best drivers for a reason. Look how dark it is now. Jin really wide around the final turn. That's going to open the door a little bit for Marco to have a run into the 90. He's trying to defend the inside, but then he goes back to the outside and opens the door for Marco. Is he just going to let him through? Looks like he does. And is the Gen going to sneak through as well? Not quite. But Jin might have a chance through the S's with a bit of slipstream. Because he's got better acceleration on him than that McLaren does. But he's got to try and fend off the Gen. As Reno leaves the room, he was having a bit of a torrid time of it. So don't blame him. Oh, Jin, what's happening with Jin? He just let Syndra pass by the looks of things. I wish I could rewind like I do on postcoms to find out what's actually happened there. Is he going slow? What's going on? He's just lost multiple seconds there. Really confused. So now he's got Kep, who, well, it looks like he's found his pace again, so maybe it was just a little bit of a distraction. We've got Kep and BX behind him now, so yeah, multiple drivers who are tier 1 pace all around Jin, so he's doing pretty well to keep in with the mix here. Whereas his teammates fallen right back. Let's see what's happening with Turbo Boy. Turbo Boy's got a 3-second lead. Remember, he pit really early. Looks like he's going to pit again. So, I wonder where he's going to come out at the end of this, because the field has spread a bit more. That means Marco's going to take the lead of the race. Marco had a bit of trouble working his way through the field, but just like in Tier 1, he's always managed to find himself right at the sharp end when it matters. But we're only on lap 19. We've got another pit stop for everyone to go. Anything can happen. Syndra P2, Kep P3, just ahead of BX Royal. Bad Robot not too far behind them, really keep the pace well. Jin in P6 now, he's fallen behind Bad Robot. So I wish I had found, oh well, look, his front right tyre, he's got damage, so he had a trip into the wall which allowed them to get past. So mistakes creeping in for Jin. DDK will be chasing down his fellow M6 fairly shortly. And then we've got Capale P8, Krilla in 9th, and Chris on a recovery drive in P10. But remember, Chris was ahead of Syndra after they both had a bit of a nightmare start in P11 and 12, and Syndra's in 2nd now and Chris is down in 10th. And we've got Cunningburn in 11th, just fending off Turbo Boy, who's come out of the pits into traffic. And he's going to, through the carousel, just takes a much cleaner line there on the soft tyres, bear in mind. He might be doing 2 soft stints for the end, so he'll be tearing through the field pretty quickly. He'll catch up to Chris pretty quickly as well on those soft tyres. We've got Reg in 13th, and Jezza is down in 14th, but he's still carrying on. So let's see what's happening. Marco's not really driving away from Syndra. Let's have a look at the lap times. 45.6 for Marco and a 45.6 again the previous lap. 46 and a 45.3, but Syndra's got Kep for company now. Actually he doesn't. Kep has BX for company, and BX just can't get past him again. If I was BX, I'd be thinking about choosing a car with a bit more straight line speed for next season. Because although the Ferrari might be fun to drive, he's driven it for 2 of the last 3 seasons. Oh, and he's got a 2-second penalty. The amount of pushing that you have to do to even get back onto the pace of a driver that's got similar speed as you is it's just, well, personally I wouldn't find it too fun, but I'm never the fastest in my tier, unlike him, so. Oh, and he's gone wide again. He's going to get another penalty there. He's got 2 at the moment. He went really wide at the bus stop on the exit. Is he going to go up? No, maybe he got away with it. So his chances of a podium are falling. He's actually might get overtaken again by Bad Robot here. Bad Robot is 3 seconds behind him and he's got a 2-second penalty. So that's 2 seconds on the brake, not 2 seconds in terms of time that you lose. So it could potentially be 3 seconds here. So let's see if Bad Robot gets past BX Royal once again. Where's he at right today? He couldn't race, unfortunately. He's working, I think, or on holiday. I think he's working. Just wasn't enough to get past BX. And this Evo, this Audi Evo that he's driving as well, no one really picked it apart from him. Some people picked the other Audi, the 2015 version. But yeah, I think it was only them in Tier 7 who picked the Evo version, but obviously it seems to be pretty decent because it's keeping pace with Tier 1 drivers when you're a Tier 7 driver. So if you're watching and you're trying to think of different cars to test out, try out this Evo. It might actually be really decent. Well, clearly is really decent. And he's keeping ahead of DDK. DDK's not closing the gap on Bad Robot at all. Are they on the same tyres? They are indeed. So we thought DDK would be in with a chance of winning and challenging BX Royal. He's fallen back a little bit now. Let's see what's happened to Jin. Jin is falling back as well a little bit here. His medium tyres are nearly dead as well. So he's not been managing them as well as DDK, for example, if you compare the two. I think Jin did pit a lot earlier though, and he's going to have to go onto the hard tyres, so he's in for a world of pain in these last 14 laps. I think he might be pitting in a lap or 2. Capel all on his own in P8. So looks like his hard tyres are doing pretty well though, so he's not going to have to pit anytime soon. Same for Chris. By the way, if you are wanting to know what assists these guys are using, it's pretty straightforward. So you see these 4 lights on the left and the right. You can see the ABS is lit up right now, and obviously the headlights. Everything else is assists. So ABS is usually on for everybody, and then you'll see Chris doesn't use any other assists there. Doesn't look like, oh, Krilla, you can see he's got 2 assists on the bottom right, which flash red every time they kind of kick in. So even if you got assists on, you can still drive incredibly quickly and qualify for the Race of Champions. Just something to think about. Personally, I don't like having assists, so I use as little as possible. I think it's better in the long run when you're trying to improve on a game. And especially if you're wanting to be in the higher tiers as well, the top 3 tiers, I'd say. If you turn off the assists, you'll eventually find the pace if you've got it. Turbo Boy setting his fastest lap there at 44.9. 44.7 is the fastest, so he's nearly at it on his soft tyres. He's closed the gap to just 2.3 seconds to Krilla now. He was about 7 seconds behind Chrissy before that. Looks like Chrissy's making some progress. That's because, who was that? Someone was in the, looked like someone was in the wall. Capel's right there. So Capel is under a bit of pressure now from Chris, who is probably going to be a bit frustrated with all that lag happening in front of him. Yeah, let's have a look at a different battle. Let's see what's going on at the front. So someone, BX had another penalty, so he's not doing well here with penalties, and that's dropping him 9 seconds off the lead now. So he's had multiple penalties here from pushing too hard, essentially. And every time he seems to catch up to the back of Kep, he gets another penalty. And he's throwing his chances of a win out the window with every one that he gets, because I don't think Marco or Syndra or Kep have got a penalty from what I could see. It's keeping Bad Robot like less than 2 seconds behind Tier 1 driver as well. Let's see how's... Oh, Bad Robot's in the pits now, so with 12 laps to go, it looks like he'll be doing a bit of a splash and dash. You don't need... I don't think 12 laps is a full tank. We will see. Jin also in the pits, but he'll be putting on his hard tyres. So we'll see a massive gap forming between Bad Robot and Jin. Again, he's behind Turbo Boy, who's on an alternate strategy, who's probably going to have to pit again fairly soon for another set of softs. Yeah, he's on softs, he's got half a tank left, it'll get him to the end. He'll be able to undercut, potentially, BX Royal here. Imagine. Okay, what's happening now? Krilla with a 1.5 second penalty, challenging... oh no, it's Capel who's got the... No, it's Turbo Boy, excuse me, who's got the 1.5 penalty. That's why there's no lag, because it's not Capel. But he is managing to get past Krilla there. And he's going to have to yield again as soon as he hits the penalty line on the back straight. Just bear with me, I've got to charge my phone. So Bad Robot does have clear air on his fresh soft, so the chance of getting an undercut is pretty high. So we've got Syndra coming in for his final stop. He's also going to be putting on the softs. Completely dead, 0% I should say fuel left, so he's timed that either perfectly or he was crawling into the pits, but I don't think he was crawling into the pits. And that promotes DDK up to P4. 13 seconds off the lead though. So he's going to have a great final stint, and he's got a second penalty. Looks like something's happened to Kep. He's lost P2 to BX Royal, and finally BX is released to put on some pressure onto Marco. He's got better tyre life as well. He's going to have to start pounding in the laps. Let's see what happened with Syndra. He's exiting the pits now. Bad Robot is side by side with him. So bear in mind, Syndra was in P2 ahead of BX. And Bad Robot's got past Syndra, so he's potentially getting past BX and Kepler here, and moving up to P2. If he does that, I'll be flabbergasted. That's fantastic, fantastic racing by this guy. This is why I love Race of Champions. You never know. There's always one driver that you don't expect, and he's gonna pop up like in the top 5 with all of the Tier 1 and Tier 2 drivers. Look, it looks like he's driving away from Syndra a little bit as well. So Syndra will be frustrated because pitting one lap later has really affected his chances of getting a podium here. Keplero's finally in the pits as well. DDK's carrying on, it looks like, yep. What about Chris? Is Chris coming in? He's not. Neither is Capel, so they're carrying on. Turbo Boy carrying on as well, but Krilla is pitting for his final time, so we might get the undercut on Turbo Boy if he has to come in one more time. And we got Bad Robot in P9. Let's see. Let's follow him as he comes down into the first corner known as the 90. Is he going to jump Kep? So our timing screen is showing that he's ahead and he's behind and he's ahead, so it's going to be close. Kep is actually battling with Syndra here. And Syndra's got past him, so Kep's got a lot of work to do. And bear in mind, BX was only a little bit ahead of Kep, so he's going to be in the mix here as well. And potentially Bad Robot could be closing the gap. Let's see, the gap is closing between Bad Robot and Marco right now. In every corner, it looks like he's Oh, he lost a bit of time in the bus stop, but he does have, well, fresh softs, fairly low fuel. Marco's going to have to not be complacent here on what I presume is his in-lap. Same with BX Royal. The undercut seems to be massive here, but that doesn't mean that they will be able to get away once they pit, and if they end up behind Bad Robot, because the tyres on Bad Robot will be more worn towards the end of the race. He's gone purple, though, at the end of Sector 2. And he has the fastest lap. So this is insane from Bad Robot. Looks like Marco and BX are going for another lap. So another opportunity for Bad Robot to close the gap even more. He's closed the gap by about 1.5 seconds so far on Marco since we joined him. Syndra is holding up Kepler now. Is Kep gonna have a look down the inside? No, he has to back out a bit. Let's join on board with Kep. There we go. Mazda RX Vision, really good sounding car. Sounds like an old F1 car, really. Like, think of the 2004 V10 era of F1 car. Syndra driving defensively there, but Kep didn't have a run on him at all. Ooh, and Kep gets bus stop all wrong, and he loses a lot of time to Syndra. Maybe, oh, and he gets a 2.5 penalty. So maybe that is Kepler's potential challenge for a podium over, because he's got Syndra, Bad Robot, BX Royal and Marco potentially ahead of him in that regard. So we have our old teammates from Tier 4, Capel and Turbo Boy, usually come together on track. What happened to Marco? Oh, he's gone into the pits. Okay. So this is going to be important. Let's rejoin Bad Robot and see if he actually managed to get the mother of all undercuts done on Marco. The best thing that he can hope for is Marco comes out behind Kepler, really, and he's got to overtake 3 cars to take the lead. So Turbo Boy was the only one who tried a 3-stopper. There you can see Marco. It looks like Bad Robot's going to get the position. Bad Robot's got the net race lead still ahead of Syndra and then Marco. And Kep would have had Marco if he didn't have that 2.5 penalty. So really good driver by the Tier 2 champion and the Tier 7 champion. Let's join on board with Syndra. Is he going to manage to get an overtake done here? Bad Robot already defending on the inside, down the back straight. Has to be really careful here not to spin him out. Oh, a little bit dodgy, but they both get away with it. Marco is 1.5 seconds behind as well, so the more that they battle, the more that he comes into it. And if they battle, it's good news for BX because he doesn't lose as much time to them. But he was about 7 seconds behind Marco, so he might be really far behind this battle by the time he joins. Chris as well, it's worth pointing out, has worked his way up to 3rd place here. Obviously he still has to pit as well, but good recovery drive from Chris. So BX finally in the pits, but we'll keep following these guys around because I do expect Bad Robot to be the net race leader. He's worked out his strategy perfectly by the looks of things. It is all going to be down to him fending off the drivers behind for the last however many laps we have left. So all 3 drivers in the pits now, so Bad Robot will be race leader if he can get ahead of BX as he comes out of the pits. Obviously BX doesn't have to fuel as much. Oh, it looks like Syndra's got a lovely run. BX all the way down in 5th, you can see there on this timing screws. What is Syndra doing? Oh dear. Well, at least he backed out of it because that was a bit silly. Right, let's get the proper racing. Yeah, there we go. So that's allowed Marco. There you go. You've got the top 5 all within, let's see, 3 seconds of each other. So this is going to be a great end to the race. You've got who should be the slowest driver on the oldest tyres in P1 because he worked out the undercut incredibly well there. This is why I love the Race of Champions. You have such varying strategies in terms of when to use your different tyres. Oh, Bad Robot's just lost out the lead there because he got a bit squirrely on the exit, but then it looks like he's got a much better run through tour. He's going to try and move around the outside of Syndra into heel. No, he tucks up behind him, and now we've got Marco right behind as well. He's not going to give up this position easily though, is Bad Robot. But he just made a tiny mistake there, and it looks like he left the door open a bit for Marco, who's going to go down the inside, and is Kev going to follow him as well. This is what happened to Bad Robot a little bit earlier on. Bad Robot's going to have the inside line for the final turn, turn 11. But no, he's down to 5th now. He's just been completely shuffled down the pack by these drivers. And Syndra is now our potential champion of the Race of Champions. It's worth noting that this is the 4th time we've done Race of Champions that season. So, Syndra could potentially book that trend. But he's got less than half a second ahead of Marco. He's quite lucky though, the Gen X has better acceleration than the McLaren, so as long as he doesn't make a mistake, he could potentially win this. And Kep's all over the back of Marco now as well. Where's Chris? Chris is P6 now. So Chris had a massive mistake earlier in the race. In lap 1, he was in the gravel at the end of heel corner, and has been on a recovery drive ever since. So the fact that he's a P6 ahead of DDK is pretty decent. Look at this. Bad Robot isn't actually falling too far behind them, despite having older tyres. Kepler has the fastest lap on a 44 flat. Clearly sandbagging in tier 7. I mean, he's definitely going to be in a bit of a higher tier than what I provisionally had him down in if he's mixing it with these tier 1 guys. He probably doesn't have the pace of these guys, that's why he's falling back a little bit now, but definitely very close to that pace. Really impressive driving. I bet he's absolutely sweated his bollocks off though to be competitive here. Oh, here we go. Syndra didn't have the best last corner. Bad Robot's come back in again. Oh, he's tried something different. So he's done is he trying a double soft stint? I guess. Unless he underfueled and that was just a bit of a mistake from him. I don't know. So Syndra is still in the lead, but look at what's happening behind him. All of these tier 1 drivers queuing up behind him to try and get a move done. They're all got slipstream on him, and he's defending the bus stop again, and it's all gone wrong. Oh, come on, poor guy. I wish I could rewind to see that again. That was, I think, a little bit naughty from Marco. I think there's going to be some swearing going on in the chat afterwards. You know how the Mediterranean guys are a bit hot-headed at the best of times, and there's 3 of them involved in that little incident right there. Now Kepler's under a bit of pressure from BX. Obviously BX has the best tyre life out of all of them, but he loses all sorts of traction in the toe corner. So that might actually decide the Race of Champions, that incident. We're gonna have to review that again a few times. I think I'm gonna save this replay and go watch it afterwards. Syndra brought his plane to a race. flew in the air like a frisbee. Yeah, he was. I don't know whose fault it was though. I don't know if that was his fault. I don't think it was. Usually it's not the guy on the inside's fault when something like that happens, but it's difficult to say when you're watching it in real time and you can't go back and see it again. I need the FIA race director to pull up a replay. So we're on lap 31 out of 35 and still the top three are separated by 1.3 seconds. 4 laps left to go as we go up through the S's once again. I would say Kep probably has the best car for this circuit in terms of acceleration out of these three, which is probably why you could see him close the gap so much. BX made a massive mistake behind. Is he going to keep ahead of Syndra? Syndra's 6 seconds behind him. That's closed by... That's closed down to 4 seconds, so he's lost 2 seconds there, going all out of shape. So maybe BX is going to have to settle for another podium in the Race of Champions, as opposed to a race win. Kepler, though, has a real good shot at a victory here. He just needs to stay to the back of Marco. Marco's made a couple of mistakes, but not too many. Oh, he's gone wide there. I wonder if that's going to result in a penalty for Marco. I wish the penalties would appear a little bit quicker in GT. No, it looks like he got away with it, but he's still less than 4 tenths ahead of Kep as we end lap 31. I'll upload the replay for you, Skidsy. Put it in overtaking submissions. So Marco's stretched his lead a little bit at the end of that sector. Let's see what's happening a little bit further back as we approach the end of the race. So the 13-second lead Syndra has over DDK, who's only a little bit ahead of Chris. Actually, he managed to get past Chris because we said Chris was ahead of him. Then Capel in 7th, still fending off Turbo Boy, who's trying all he can to get past. Krilla in P9, a bad robot down to 10th after pitting again, but he might be able to nick a position or two at the end on his fresh tyres. Jin, after doing so well for so long, is in P11 and his teammate is in 12th. Reg in 13th and Jezza in 14th, but let's rejoin the top. Distinct Marco has a 1.6 second lead over Kep, who's got a half-second penalty as well. Gifting Marco the victory here by the looks of things. Maybe pushing a little bit too hard. You're welcome, Polty. I enjoy it. It's something I love to do. Obviously, I prefer to be racing in it, but unfortunately not fast enough. But I'm kind of glad I'm not, because these guys would have embarrassed me if I was racing here today. So Kep is going to be probably 3 seconds behind. Oh no, he's kept it at 2.5. But yeah, basically Marco needs a mistake now to lose this. BX has a chance of getting P2 now, potentially. He does have much better tyres. Well, actually Marco's looked after his, but that McLaren is insanely good on the tyres and insanely good on fuel, which is probably why he managed to jump a lot of people in the pits. So we end lap 32 and the order is the same in the top 3, but BX is really close to Kep now. Let's see. Now this will give you a good indication of how good the RX Vision straight line speed is and acceleration, because BX has slipstream, and if you just see, he's not really, well, he's not closing the gap at all on Kep. Ooh, really slidey there. That is what the Ferrari's good at, sliding, but you can control the slide really well, so if that's the kind of car that you have fun driving, it's definitely one to consider, because it's probably the best MR car which has that kind of sliding feel to it. There's also the Huracan, but I think the Ferrari's just a little bit better under these rules that we've got. Ooh, nearly went into the back of Kep there. Kep's taken that corner a lot more carefully. Oh, Polty, if you want to commentate, we do actually need one commentator for next season, so DM me if you're serious about commentating. We need some post-commentary for one of our tiers. So we end lap 33. BX all over the back of Kep now. Kep hits the wall. Oh my god, come on. He's got a nose in. Is he going to get the move done? He is. Is he going to manage to keep it on the line without going too wide? He does, and there's Kep in his mirrors. Kep's going to have a great chance to overtake him though. Like I said, the Mazda does have better straight line speed, and he's going to have slipstream. He's having to lift all over the place here to stop himself from hitting the rear of BX Royal. BX already defending the inside. And now we're into the kind of, well, it's kind of an infield section. It's a part of the track that will suit BX and his tyre wear a bit more than Kep, so he's got a chance to extend the gap to maybe a second and then break the slipstream of Kep and fend off that challenge. But it's probably too little too late. BX probably could have won this if he didn't get so many penalties. He had a lot of penalties in this race, and he had basically a great position in the first stint. He was leading the race, but yeah, like I said, those penalties really impacted him a lot more than other drivers. And I don't think Marco had a single penalty, so Marco rounding turn 9, 10 and 11. He's got a 4-second lead as we have a little over a lap left. BX in P2, Kep in 3rd, Syndra, the highest non-tier 1 driver, the tier 2 champion, and then Chris, the other tier 2 driver, in 5th, has managed to get past DDK. So it's tier 1, tier 1, tier 1, tier 2, tier 2, tier 3, and then we got tier 4 for Capel, tier 5 Krilla, tier 7 Bad Robot, tier 4 again Turbo Boy, whose soft tyres are completely gone now. Then we got tier 6 driver Jin, who tried the alternate strategy and is now really suffering. Another tier 6 driver Cunningburn, and then tier 5's Reg, our last minute stand-in, and tier 7's Jezza. So let's ride on board with Marco in his final lap. You see how he takes carousel, really wide exit, but he's still hitting the rumble strips. And then we brake here for Laces down into second. You can see he's not using any assist apart from ABS as well. Now we head into heel corner. Uses the downshifts to help his turn in. He's quite late on the brakes, but uses all that, late on the acceleration, but uses all the track available. And then hits toe corner perfectly, and again goes really wide to use the full width of the track. That's what you need to do to set a really fast time around here. And then maybe the trickiest corner here, turn 9. Again using the full width on exit. As he turn 10, he's taking it quite gingerly there. And then we round the final corner. Racer Champions on his debut is our tier 1 champion Marco, with a 6-second lead ahead of BX Royal as he takes the checkered flag. BX is going to get another podium in the Racer Champions. He's going to take P2 in his Ferrari. Great result for him, but it could have been more. Same for Kep. He'll be kicking himself a little bit in 3rd. And then we got Syndra, who was absolutely wiped out, or maybe he wiped himself out, who knows, the jury's out. He ends up in P4. And then there's a huge gap back to Chris, who had a great recovery drive. Maybe could have had a podium if he'd not had that incident on lap 1. So he gets P5. He looks pretty happy with that. Then DDK a little bit behind him in P6 in his M6, P6 M6, and then Capel in 7th on his Peugeot. Probably ruined his old teammate strategy there. Krilla managed just to fend off Bad Robot on his superior soft tyres at the end there. So Bad Robot did stop 3 times. Turbo Boy stopping 3 times as well, actually finished behind him. And then we got Jin a little bit further back on his hard tyres. Put in a great effort at the beginning of the race to take P11. So he should be pretty pleased with himself, because for most of the race he was mixing it with the big boys. Rejnick's P12 in the Huracan. I think finishing anything but last when you had a 15-minute notice to race is a great result. DDK saying you couldn't see anything. Well, fair enough. Still finished pretty decent considering you couldn't see anything. Cunningfern finishing 13th in the end. Again, it had a great first in, and Jezza was also mixing it pretty well before the end. So yeah, that's our 14 drivers. Let's have a quick look at the results. So BX Royal did get the fastest lap, the only person in the 43s. Everyone else in the top 8 in the 44s, apart from Capel, whose fastest lap was in the 45s. 44s for everyone apart from Jin and Reg, they were in the 46s. Cunningfern in the 46s. Jezza managed a 45, and Reno King in the 46s as well. So the whole grid, well, the podium finishes were all within 10 seconds, but it was a lot closer than that up until the very end of the race. Sindra actually recovered a little bit after his off and was only 14 seconds down from Marco. So yeah, he definitely could have or should have been on the podium there. And then a huge gap back to Chris, 27 seconds. So yeah, thanks for watching. That was a really fun race, as it always is in the Race of Champions. I'm going to end the stream now, but yeah, if yeah, well, join us next season, and hopefully you can qualify for the Race of Champions. I'm going to be trying to. But yeah, I'm going to end the stream, but yeah, thanks for watching.